I moved from a desk job to creating a real estate empire and having financial freedom. I want the same thing for you. Welcome to the Real Estate Mentor Show. I'm your host, Toby Brown. I've been in real estate over 16 years and I'm the founder and CEO of the Brown Group, a full-service real estate firm. Did you know that 90% of all millionaires own real estate? This could be you. Create generational wealth through real estate investments. Let's do this. Hey, what's up, guys? Toby TB Brown here, coming to you live with the Real Estate Mentor Show, our podcast where we come to inspire you, motivate you, and most importantly, educate you about real estate. As a lot of you guys know, 16 years ago, I walked away from a stable job to pursue my interest in real estate. And although back then it was a big risk and I didn't quite know what my vision would look like and how it would play out, looking back now, it was the best decision I ever made in my life. So now, at this stage of my career, the goal for me is to try to pour back that energy into some other up-and-coming entrepreneurs, visionaries, people that are kind of on the fence about walking away from a stable job or stability that they currently have to pursue some of their entrepreneurial dreams. So today, I have two guests on the show with me that are a perfect example of kind of what I went through and experienced that same challenge of walking away from a situation to basically place a bet on themselves, right? Because they wanted something for themselves. They wanted to be entrepreneurs, and real estate was an avenue for them, just like it was for me. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Curtis and Alyssa. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Alyssa.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm terrible sometimes with pronunciation, so I have to throw that out there. So Curtis and Alyssa, and their company is Table Investments. They're out of Oklahoma City, and we've actually done some transactions together. They're real estate agents, but they specialize in investment properties. Obviously, real estate investments is what I do. I've been doing that for over 16 years. I've been very successful at it, and I've built a lot of relationships in the industry as well. So Curtis and Alyssa, again, they specialize in real estate investments, and I'm going to let each one of them kind of tell you a little bit about what they do currently and kind of their journey that led to them getting to where they are right now. So Curtis, if you want to just kind of introduce yourself.
You bet. My name is Curtis Cupfersmith. I live here in Oklahoma City. I'm originally from Kansas and lived in Texas for a while and then moved here about 7 years ago, I guess. And so my business partner, Alyssa, and I, we own a company here in Oklahoma City called Table Investments, like Toby was talking about. And what we do is we help a lot of people out of state buy rental properties here in Oklahoma City. So anywhere from a $20,000 little house to a $4 million apartment. We kind of do a little bit of everything in between. So not only that, we also help people with the project development so if they want to rehab a property or if they want to do like a value add type property where they're buying it, doing some work to it to add some equity, we do a little bit of that. And man, how we got started was it's pretty long story. I'm going to try to narrow it down pretty quick, but Alyssa and I met because we both started in real estate at the same time, and in that group we were the only people under 55. And so when you get started in real estate, it's kind of a lonely journey just because you don't really have anybody else that's really pulling for you. It's kind of a dog-eat-dog world where everybody's out to get a listing or find a buyer or whatever. And so we really kind of leaned on each other to help as we were growing to see, she would figure this out or I would figure this out, and we would just kind of share it. And so as it went along, we continued we weren't working together, and we were mainly helping people buy and sell their personal houses. And then we started working with a lot of investors, and what we found was we would find these rental properties on the MLS that they looked like good deals. And so we would put them under contract, and when we would get into the inspection period or start requesting leases and stuff like that, we would find out, oh, they're not actually a good deal. Mm-hmm. And so many of them were busting, and we thought, man, there's got to be a better way. And I got to give her the credit on this because I thought she was crazy. But she came to me one day, she was like, we have to get to these deals first. Like, we can't wait for them to get on the MLS because we have to find out if they're actually a deal. We're going to analyze them up front and then send them out. And I thought, man, why would nobody's going to do that. She's like, no, we're going to figure it out. We're going to do it. So slowly but surely it just started building, and actually, your property over here off of...
Did you know
Lancer
that? You were
Lane?
our very first deal. Off
Really?
Hefner.
Yeah, that deal
I didn't know
Hefner,
that.
a duplex.
Curtis,
Wow.
Curtis kept telling me it's not going to work, it's not going to work. I was like, there's this guy, Toby. He said he'd do it. I'm going to prove it to
Oh
you.
yeah, and we made it work.
Yeah.
We made it work. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's what happens when you get the right people at the table, right?
Yeah.
You have the same. You guys have the energy. You know, you're starting out. It's like, man, you got that drive. We got to make it happen.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for a long time, so I know the importance of really kind of doing whatever it takes to
That
make
one.
things work.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
about the
it's-
results.
Yeah. So after we got like the first one or two or three under our belts, we were like, all right, we can do this. And so it just started building momentum. And it's really funny because I have a lot of people, we have a lot of people that ask us all the time about like, well, what can I do to start? And, you know, what's my website got to look like, or this or that. For the first year, every one of our buyers were out of state. That a lot of them never even came here to see us. We didn't even have a website. Mm-hmm. We had nothing. I mean, it was just straight up, just on the phones, just working and following through with what we said we were going to do. And the word of mouth just kept building it. But it's really
real
crazy.
quick. I think just real quick, let me interject there real
Yeah.
quick. That is a great nugget on branding, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that branding is just rushing out there to put the imagery out there, the pictures, the website, the logo, and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But they forget sometimes that you got to have something to brand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, what are you branding, dude? Like, okay, looks great, but what am I
What are
buying
you doing?
here?
Yeah.
Right? So it's the substance behind the branding.
Exactly.
So you guys built the substance first. Now you're probably getting more into the branding side.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so now, and she was big about that too, about like, man, we need to have a really professional website that people go to. And so it was hard on me because I'm like, man, all these people are trying to look us up. They can't even find us. Like, what are we going to do? She's like, no, we're going to make it really professional once it's there. But like, we just got to keep pushing. And so by the time we hired Spark, they're here in town, and man, they built us a beautiful website now. But in the beginning, it was just straight up just working every day.
I used to go through the same deal when I first started. People was like, where are you at? What's your website? I never heard of you and all this stuff. And I said, look, dude, do you ever see a Rolls Royce commercial?
Oh, yes.
And it was like, well, no. I was like, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was my way of kind of, just combating
You're
that
just sitting
deal.
there and it's like, I need deals. Like, I don't have time to sit there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to put in the work and it happens. So before that, though, her and I, when we got into real estate, our whole purpose of it was for investing. Because I bought my first rental house it was my first primary that turned into a rental when I was 20. And it was honestly by accident. The company I was working with in Fort Worth, that's how I was living down there. And one of the ladies I was working with, she had got a house through a divorce. This is in 08, or it was in 09. And she was just real upset about it. It was like, I don't want to put it on the market. The market's terrible, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, what do you want for it? She said, if somebody would just pay off the mortgage, I would just get rid of it. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I don't know anything about real estate, but it was 4 acres, 2-bed, 2-bath house, pipe fence, whole thing for, I think I got it for $45,000.
Wow.
So like, I knew it was a deal. And so the next day I called in sick to work and I went to every little bank in town and was just begging them for money.
Yeah.
But I had never had a credit card. I never had a loan. So I had no credit history. So nobody would give me a loan. And the last bank I went to, this old man was like, look, I can't give you a loan but through the bank, but I believe in you. I'll give you a personal loan. So this dude gives me a personal loan, and my payment was $232 on his house. So I'm living in it, and I'm thinking, man, this is awesome. Well, then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, And that's what changed my life. And so I read that book, and I was driving on the road one day. I'm like, man, I gotta have an asset. What do I have that's an asset? And I'm like, my freaking house. So I take pictures of it, put it on Craigslist, and I just put it up for $1,200. Like, I had no idea what it was worth. And the next day my phone starts blowing up, and I'm like, okay, I guess I gotta rent my house out.
Yeah.
So my first rental property was, I made $1,000 a month profit on it, and I'm like, well, no wonder everybody does rental properties. This is yeah. And so yeah, they don't work like that on everyone.
Right. Exactly.
But it was just kind of a crazy way that, like, how it started. And so when I got into real estate, the whole time was like, all right, I got to get more rental properties. And so as it kept growing, I realized too that real estate sales was a really good way to build capital and to meet a lot of people and just to get your feet wet, because there's so much to real estate in general, not even just investing, but I mean in general with real estate. There's so many different directions you can go. And so that might be something for people listening, is don't get yourself stuck in just one position. Know that there's so many different avenues, and don't set yourself up to where there's only one way for you to go. But I realized, like, I had started to build a team, and I was selling a lot of houses, and I was around a lot of people who sold a lot more real estate than me and who had been doing it forever. And I was kind of looking at their lifestyle and realized, like, man, I don't want to do this forever. I mean, because it's just this continual rat race of, like, you're constantly trying to find another deal and constantly trying to find another listing.
You don't hunt, you don't eat.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they're tired.
Yeah.
They're just tired.
Yeah.
And I loved doing it when I was young, and I still love doing it now, but I realized that, like, man, when I'm 50, 60 years old, I don't want to be stuck having to fight to make a living. And so I knew had to be something else to do, and that's what kind of led us to the business that we have now. And so last year we sold it was 192 units.
Oh wow,
and
that's awesome.
This year we should do about 250. We've sold right at 112 so far this year.
Man, and that deal that we did, that was not too long ago.
No,
it was like a year and a half ago.
17.
17, so barely almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow, and you guys are already up to 190 units.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that is amazing.
Thank you.
That is amazing. It's funny that you and I actually have more in common than I thought.
Really?
Just the backdrop there. There's some common themes. One is getting an early exposure to real estate.
Yeah.
I bought my first house at 23, my personal home.
Okay.
That I lived in. So that was my first exposure to real estate. And the same thing, I was just like, okay, I live in this house and I'm making this mortgage payment, and I started studying the investment side of it. I did eventually read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was like, man, okay, I need some assets, producing some income, type of thing. I don't want to be working this job forever. I had a job at the time, and when I went to real estate, I had my license and I started selling. Same thing. I was like, man, look, this is great, this is cool, but I'm looking around at all these brokers and agents. They're all older and they're driving these just Hondas and Toyotas, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, I don't want to drive a Toyota at 60, man. I want to roll up in the drop top Rolls Royce.
Yes.
And I want to be fly, and I want to be comfortable, and I want to have like a nice lifestyle.
Yeah.
So there was no inspiration there, I'll be honest. Like those guys, when you look at the whiteboard, you see all these pending sales, and it looks great. Oh yeah, I need to be like them. But when you evaluate
their
when you look around, the lifestyle's like
it's Christmas Eve and they're tied to the laptop.
It's like I said, I don't want to live like that. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know the average real estate agent only makes about $24,000 a year nationwide.
Yeah.
So it's top heavy for sure.
Yeah.
You can do well, if you have the drive and motivation to actually go out and sell. But you got to have something else going on to parlay that into, and that's why I think it's being an agent, making money there, and investing at the same time simultaneously, or one of the other. It's a perfect marriage.
Yeah.
If you do it the right way.
You need to.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't touch on that I think would be good for people to hear. So when I started in real estate, I remember this so clearly. I went to meet with the broker at Keller Williams in Edmond. And she asked me, what are your 5-year goals? And I said, man, if I can make $100,000 by the time I'm 30, I'll be set. I mean, that, like, in my mind, $100,000 was like the pinnacle. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what that would be like. And she kind of looked at me and she kind of laughed. She said, honey, you're going to make that in a year. And I said, there's no way. I mean, I'd never made more than like $40,000.
Yeah.
And so I was still working a full-time job. I worked for a construction company. We did oil field services and dirt work. And I was the logistics coordinator, so I oversaw every job every day to make sure they had the materials they needed, the right guys were at the right place, and all that. And so I was working from 7 a.m. till 5:36 every night, and then I was going and selling real estate at night on the weekends. And so it was my first 5 months. So it was August through December. I sold $4.3 million worth of real estate just at night and on the weekends. And it got to the point where I came into work one Monday, and the guy who owned the company, he was a really good friend of mine, and he was like, dude, if you don't quit, I'm going to fire you.
Yeah. Because he knows he's not getting 100% out of it.
Yeah, but
you're slacking on the job.
I was so scared because I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I got to have this guaranteed income. Like, there's no way that I can just go commission only. And, but man, taking that leap was like, it was huge for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it really taught me a lot. And I mean, still to this day, we just talked about this yesterday, I like having my back against the wall. And so it's like, even when you have money and you have things, like, I'm always trying to find that way to put my back against the wall to where, like, I got to keep pushing, I got to keep going. It makes me feel alive. I like to kill. I mean, I think that we're meant to do that. I mean, we're meant to go out and hunt and kill and bring it back. And so I think there's always got to be a good a balance of that, to where you're not just like living paycheck to paycheck, but you got to find a way to keep yourself with your back against the wall where you can keep going.
Yeah, and I think it brings the best out of you too. You discover things about yourself that you did not know in terms of how far you can push yourself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, the fourth quarter, 5 minutes left, game's on the line, you're dog tired, you've been in a tough fight. But if you want to win that championship ring, you gotta push, man.
Yeah.
And you don't know how far you can go until you're actually in that situation. Mm-hmm. So having your back against the wall, maybe having a little bit of diversity, taking the stabilization off of the table, right? That's a big thing. It's like, man, you got to get up, right?
Yeah.
That direct deposit ain't hitting on Friday.
No, it's not. It is not. If you don't kill, you don't eat.
Right, right. So that's, a very interesting story. It ties right into a lot of things that I talk about on the show with the people that, especially on the real estate side, about. I was like, man, all you agents out there, you out there selling. It's great. I love agents. Obviously, we have to protect the community and each other, But man, there's no reason why every real estate agent shouldn't be investing and buying properties.
It's like we were at dinner with a really, really good friend. Was it last Friday? Mm-hmm. And he was coming to us for deals and coming to us. I was just like, dude, you go on these appointments 8 times a week. Like you kill it. You learn the numbers. You learn how to invest.
Yeah.
You go find a community bank, because it's not that hard once you know what to look for.
Exactly.
Agents just don't realize that their listing appointments can be an investment appointment or a sales appointment or, fill in the blank. They just haven't trained their mind to go look for that.
Right. So does that make us unique individuals? I'm starting to believe that we are maybe a special group of individuals, because there's no rocket science to this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. You just kind of talked about that. And it's like, you can ease the numbers, you can run the numbers, you can see the numbers, you made 3% on $100,000, $3,000, 3% commission. Okay, great. Well, what if you had 10 investment properties bringing in $300, $400 a month? What's the numbers on that?
Well, and then all of a sudden they don't know. I'm not a numbers guy. It's like, well, you better figure out how to be a numbers guy.
You gotta figure it out.
You're broke. You're not gonna have any numbers.
So you had an early introduction into real estate like me. So what's your story? Kind of how'd you get involved in real estate, and how'd you guys, that connection there?
So he kind of hit on it a little bit. I was in college, pre-med, so I thought that I was going to do the whole surgeon route, and I get to my senior year, and you go to apply for med school. They want you to do all these shadowing programs and kind of figure out what direction you want to go because it beefs up your application.
So you're like a 4.0 student or something like that because you don't just go apply for med school.
Oh yeah,
You're
she's
smart.
Yeah. She's smart. I'm not. Yeah, no.
So I go to do all that and realize that I hate hospitals, I hate private practice, I hate everything about the medical community. So I have this moment of crisis, totally drop out of school and start bartending at Republic in Chisholm Creek, or Classen Curve. And I just went to the library that summer, and I bet I read 150 books trying to find, and I wouldn't read the whole book, just trying to find something that was like,
that you liked.
what am I going to do with my life?
You were soul searching.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't call it that. It was a mess. I mean, I had no clue.
Yeah.
So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and brought it home to my husband and was like, we're doing this. And so I had my real estate license within like a month and a half of reading that book. And I found this terrible little house over in Linwood. It was awful. It was so ugly. And I told him, I was like, we're buying this because it has a garage apartment in the back.
Yeah.
So we did that. So we lived in it. We still own it. So we lived in the front, rented out the back, saved the money, bought another one. So we did the whole house hacking thing.
Yeah.
So I did sales, and I was really, really good at it. And I hated it. The owner-occupant thing just wore me out. Exhausted going home, didn't really love working with my clients, didn't love what I did every day. So I took a job. I kind of took a back seat from real estate and was like, okay, I want to do real estate, but this is not why I got into it. I got into it to invest. I don't have money to invest. I was just super frustrated. So I took a job kind of with another investor, ran his operations, and I got a crash course. I mean, I had never heard of what a syndication was. There were so many things that I learned so quickly.
So you knew you wanted to invest, but you didn't have the capital, right? And some of the know-how, right? You didn't, So I think that's important because a lot of people, that's where they hit the brick wall and they give up. They stop right there and it's like over. Like, man, I don't have no money to invest in real estate. I mean, you hear about all this no money down stuff, which we all know is a fluke. But they hit that point where it's like, man, I don't have no money to invest. They just pivot and go a whole nother direction.
Yeah.
But you were able to latch on with somebody else that had the experience, right?
And I took a huge pay cut to do it. I mean, I was real estate sales, it adds up, especially I joined a team, so I had no overhead. I was doing it on my own for a long time, and I was like, I'm spending all this money. Why am I doing this? So I went to a team and was able to just produce. They took care of everything, all the admin and marketing and all that. So all I had to do all day was sell, which was really, really fun until you kind of turn into a robot. It's just the same pitch every day. So I quit doing that and took a huge pay cut, but I learned more, what was that, 5 or 6 months? Working with that group than anything else, even to this date.
Best experience you ever get is that on the job, like, exposure.
Hands-on.
I got to travel. I got to meet cool people. I got to learn. I would sit in these meetings and it went over my head, and I would just take notes and then get out of the meeting and Google every single thing I heard. Like, what's a REIT? What's a it was, so that was killer. I loved that whole thing. But that's kind of where we got into business. I came to him, was like, hey, I've got these guys that want to work with me, and I know how to sell, and I know how to find the deal, but I don't have time to process their paperwork and do, the due diligence checklist. Can I borrow your staff to, because at this point he's like, you're crazy, it's never going to work. I was like, okay, then we won't partner. Just let me borrow your staff. Like, I'll help with your salaries or something.
And what does your staff look like at that point in time?
Just 2 admin.
Okay.
That's it.
Well,
and I had 1 buyer's agent too. So like, we're just still selling regular.
Are you a KW at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
At that point, yeah.
Okay.
And so I had, but all I'd done was sell for 2 years. So I hadn't built an infrastructure. I mean, I hadn't done any of that. I just needed help processing. So we got into it, and then a couple deals into it, he was like, okay, so wait, what are you doing? And so that's kind of where we're at now. The whole thing with our company, it's like out-of-state investors have 2 options. They can either go the turnkey route where they're paying a super premium, their cash flow's not great, but they've got all the bells and whistles and warranties and the stuff that makes them feel good. Or they can go the other direction and buy wholesales, and you don't know what you're getting with the house or the tenant. It's just, it's kind of a nightmare process. And so the whole reason that we're in business is trying to figure out, okay, how can we take the turnkey process and really marry that with the deals that our local guys are getting? Because most companies just suck all that equity out. And so we're trying to find a way we'll make our margins, but pass that equity on to these investors.
It's like the volume approach where we're not trying to whereas like a wholesaler's trying to mark it up a lot and make a lot in the middle. Yeah. We're selling so many to where we don't need to we're not trying to get rich off every deal. Like our whole goal is to build, we're making money so that we can buy more investments ourselves, and that's what's going to feed everything. So we're not trying to make a bunch of money selling.
And you're building those relationships.
That's the deal. I would rather
the most important part of all of it.
Well, I would rather have one client that comes back to me, and I may only make this much, but he comes back once a quarter, every year for the next 6 years, than have one guy, then I make a big old whale,
and it's over. You never see him again the rest of your life. Now, obviously, you guys are very sharp, very smart, and now you're getting the experience under your belt. But the audience will see this at some point, and they're going, those guys are pretty young. Like, you don't have to tell me how old you are now, but obviously, you guys are very young. How do you get these clients to trust you?
Oh God, that was hard. Honestly,
man, it's not. It is.
That's the most important part, though, is trust.
It's trust, and I really. Once I figure out how we do it, it's hard, because that we're trying to train our staff to do it now. Because I wait tables and I worked off of commission. That so much of what you do in sales, you just it's like tribal knowledge. You just kind of do it and you see it and you figure it out. But everything that we've done comes down to trust. And we spend a lot to travel to our clients. Like we'll go to LA and just do 40-minute meetings back to back to back for like 15 hours straight to meet as many people as we can in 3 days.
But man, I think what it comes down to is between her and I and then all of our staff is we genuinely care about people. And I think that it's really cliche, and like a lot of people say like, oh, it's all about the other person, it's all about the client, blah, blah, blah. It's like, we're not afraid to pick up the phone and tell you the truth. We've talked so many people out of deals that they wanted to buy. And it's like, hey, don't buy this house. Like it's not going to work out. And I think that from so many of those times where we did things that it actually hurt us, but helped the other person, them telling other people about it and all of that just kind of built it as we go. And I know for me personally, I was raised on a ranch, and I used to rodeo professionally, actually. I team roped. And so I've always thought, and always kind of told people, is like I bring a blue-collared mindset into a white-collared world, where it's your word is your bond, and like, I don't know, I don't have that BS part about me that you get with a lot of people in real estate, where it's just, let me see my shiny car and all this, and let me just talk about how great everything is. It's like, I'll tell you the truth about stuff, and I think that our whole culture of the people that work with us is all the same way, to where we're not afraid to tell people the truth, and we genuinely care about people, and there's just a way that it comes across.
We're not tied to any outcome, because we're not a turnkey company, we're not a wholesale team, we're not a real estate team, we're kind of this hybrid. We can walk in and tell somebody, this is how much you'll make on the MLS, this is how much you'll make with my out-of-state guys, and this is how much you're going to make if I buy it in 10 days. Like, what do you want to do?
Right.
Everybody else is walking in kind of saying, like, do this, sign now. So between that, and then we're really good at getting other people to talk about us so that we don't have to. Like if you go on Bigger Pockets and somebody says, hey, what do you think about Oklahoma City? Our other clients will come in. Like we don't ever have to raise our hand and be hey, we're great, because our other clients will come in. And
that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. You kind of take the desperation off the table, because you're not living to somebody else's expectations. Like I don't have to deliver you 10 deals a month. Like that's ideal. I know that's what you want, but I don't have to do that. I can do this my way. I can design it my way. You make decisions that are in line with your vision. Like you guys obviously know where you're going. You've talked about the vision. And then the other most important part that you touched on, probably more important than any of this, since you are building a business, is the culture. Yeah. Right? The culture that's where the value is, because the culture will allow your business to run when you're not there. You don't have to worry about like, okay, I need to be on that call. No, like Sally can handle the call. She knows how we do business and how what we believe in here, and she knows what direction to take that call. And then you can, you'll jump in maybe to close the deal. Yeah. Because I mean, some people have that skill. You do. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's like I have that kind of closing skill, and I can turn the switch on when I need to. So like. But I like coming in on that part of it. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
But you have to build up to that point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard we were talking about this the other day, in your meetings with your team, it's so tempting to only talk about the deal, the production, the numbers. But whatever you talk about is whatever your team is going to find important. So if you're talking about friendliness and trust and putting the client first, then that's what's going to show up in their day. But if you're only talking about, did you hit your numbers? Did you hit your goals? You're not producing. I'm not making my money. Then all they're going to value is money. So then they're going to put the deal ahead of the client. But it's tough sitting there on Monday when the numbers aren't where they're supposed to be, and sitting there talking about like these abstract things like trust and rapport.
Man, and we've been really lucky with the people that work with us. So like when we started, where she was talking about like where she came to me and was like, man, can I use your admin staff? Sherry Norton she's worked for me before we ever even had this company, but everybody that works for us didn't have a real estate background. And so Sherry, I mean, if you read our reviews on Google, 90% of them talk about how great Sherry is. They don't even know who I am at all. But Sherry's background, her husband was in the Air Force, and then she was a special education teacher. And so she has that she's very patient with people, and she's just so genuinely kind. And I think that like more than anything, Sherry and having somebody good, like if it's not Sherry, but having somebody when you're first getting started, having an admin or somebody that's helping you who genuinely cares about people goes so far to build trust and that, that genuine connection that you have with people.
You guys already know this, but good people are really hard to find.
Man, they're hard to find.
And so you have some people that have to go through a ton of them to find that. Right, it's like relationships, right? You got to have a bunch of bad relationships before you can finally get that one that you can appreciate. Employees are the same way, and sometimes you get one and you hit it off, and that's the one you're like, well, I got him. You got to take care of that one. Sounds like Sherry fits in that mold. Take care of her, and she can really make a huge impact on your business. But in terms of entrepreneurship, that is, that's a big factor of whether some businesses fail, make it or don't make it, right? Like just the people I never could find anyone that could help me,
Well, and then other people, they don't like to talk about like their piece in that. Like you've got to be somebody cool to work with too.
Oh yeah.
You got to attract those people.
Pay them well, treat them well, have a good. You have to have systems and processes set up, because if it's chaos every day, good people are going to bounce. They're not going to hang out.
I tell all my people, I say, hey, look, you guys, to work for me, you got to have an ownership mentality. I know this is my business. I know my name's on the door. I know this is my vision. This is my thing. But I need you guys to feel the same way. I need you to be a part of this, right? And if you take on that mentality, then we're going to go a long way. We're going to grow together. If we're growing, this pie that's on the table is going to get bigger and bigger. And your share of that pie will get bigger and bigger. Right? And you got to be able to sell that, because if it's just like, like you said, if you just come in and talk about numbers and you're not able to talk about that vision and the goals and what does it mean for them? Okay, the numbers, what do I get out of that?
Yeah.
Exactly. What does it mean for me?
What does it mean for me? And people will bounce.
So
they're looking for the next. They're looking while you're back there working the deals. They're looking to see where else. I've seen it time and time and time again. And so. But again, that's the spirit of entrepreneurship, man. You guys wouldn't even be in this situation, being able to have these conversations, had you not kind of got together and said, let's go do this thing.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it just a second ago where we talk about coming in to make the close and that kind of stuff. And for people that are like just getting started, or they're interested in real estate but don't really know how to do it, if you can learn how to sell, you can do anything. I mean,
so earlier you said you hated selling.
But she's freaking good at it.
Right, but you're good at it. Yeah. And so many people shy away from selling. Even I did before. That's was a part of the reason why I didn't want to. I got involved. I said, man, I don't want to sell. It sucks. No, I don't want to do that. But as you evolve as a professional, as a business person and as an entrepreneur and a business owner, you realize that you have to be able to sell.
Yeah.
Everything's a sale. Everything's a sale.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing is a sale. You're selling your employees, you're selling your vendors, you're selling your business partners. You may be selling your investors one day. You're selling to the banks.
You're selling every day. I was on a call with a coach and I was like, I can't wait till I get out of sales. And he just laughed at me. I was like, what? And
There's
he was
no
like,
exit.
There's no exit.
He was like, as soon as you're done selling to clients, you're going to have to sell to your business partner to keep going. Sell to your employees to work harder.
You guys are going to have to sell to each other. Like, okay, we've had a nice little run here. We made a shitload of money. Like, what's the incentive to stay in this deal here?
Yeah.
Like,
Though, everything
you can stand on your own. I can stand on my own. Like, you guys are going to have to sell each other. Like, no, let's hang in there for another 5 years and keep riding this thing out.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's a sale, man. And so once you realize that, it's like, that's like the separator.
Yep.
Right, between the people that like go to the next level and the people that's always stuck right there. Every time you see them, it's like, oh, you guys, how you doing so well? I did the same thing. I work a lot more hours than you. And how did you get to 190 houses? How did you do that?
Well, it's crazy. As you do more, you realize you're really not doing that much. Like, we were laughing. We were in the car on the way to Midwest City yesterday to look at this terrible little Section 8 house that's so ugly. And I looked at him and I was like, I think we bragged more about our 50 houses a year than we do our 225. Because now I'm looking at these people that have like $30 million investment portfolios. I'm like, my 200 houses a year are nothing.
Right. As I always tell, there's levels, man.
There's,
no matter where you are in life, there's always another level. And that's why it's so important, again, too, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, is like you have to be able to put yourself in an environment where you can be stimulated in that manner, where you can be pulled up.
Yeah.
Because Oklahoma is a small community, and even you guys definitely, myself, if you build something, if you're in business longer than 3 years, people know who you are. You can stand out pretty easily here in Oklahoma. But if you travel, you start traveling, you go to these places, you meet somebody else, and like, oh, I've been in business 3 years. And I'm like, yeah, I've been in business 5 years, and I just had a valuation $100 million. And you're like,
you ain't nothing.
I ain't doing nothing. So it's like the Will Smith movie. I turn into the Will Smith. Like, okay, what do you do? How do you do it? And, my little thing just turns into nothing.
I flew private for the first time, and I remember we landed, and I called my husband and was like, we have to work harder. You gotta go harder. Yes. No,
yes.
I don't even know how to explain what that flight did.
Yeah. You start to feel like you're getting shortchanged to a certain point. Like, oh, you think you're living a pretty decent life. I'm sure we're all grateful. We have a very spirit of gratitude.
But then you get on Southwest
But then you go experience something else. It's like, I deserve better than this.
The Four Seasons ruined me. I remember, I'd hear people talk about, stay at the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons. I remember thinking, you guys are idiots. Who would spend that much money on a hotel room? And then I stayed in one night, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, there's no turning back.
There's no turning back. You can't stay anywhere else. It's just...
It's about exposure, man. It's about exposure. And real estate gives you that opportunity. Yeah. Because it's such a broad industry. And because it's so diverse in terms of the different asset classes and different things that you can do within the business, you meet so many different people, right? Yeah. You meet people in residential, commercial, at all different levels, right? So it's like an unlimited growth potential in the industry.
I love that.
Versus like medical or whatever. But real estate, literally, it is freaking unlimited. Yeah. You can go from the 20-year-old with the one house with the $200 house payment to being a billionaire one day. Yeah. How many industries can you say that?
Not very.
That you can literally become. You can become a billionaire. That's my personal goal, is to become a billionaire one day. Yeah. And that's why I'm still in real estate, right? Because how long you been doing? 16 years. Most people, you get burnt out on certain whatever it is. You've been doing this, okay, but you can keep doing it. You can live a great life, but you're not gonna become a billionaire. But I don't feel that way in real estate. I truly believe that I can hit that mark one day. And that's why I love the business. That's why I created this show. That's why I love talking to guys like you, guys and gals. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
that are really doing it, man, and building a successful business. And I'm so happy for you guys. I'm very proud of you. I know
Thank you.
We don't know each other intimately like that, but we will now. Yeah. We got that connection, right? And we'll look back on this one day and be like, man, you remember when we did that
show
upstairs? And you had the one little mic and the little laptop.
When we're sitting in your skyscraper
exactly.
that's like full and we're
exactly. And then maybe we're hopping on the PJ and you go fly out to LA to visit one of your clients to strike a deal.
Yeah.
You know, and so I mean, I really believe though. You know, I have a great imagination. I think.
Do you do visualization? Oh man.
Yeah, so it keeps me up at night sometimes. There's that's the good and bad of it. It's great for what it is, but sometimes it's just, I mean, I can't sleep because I can't turn it off.
Yep.
You know, but the more I dream and the more my imagination works, the more the thing they happen. It actually happens. Like if it never happened, I was like, but it happens. The things I dream about and imagine, they come to fruition. Like I kind of lightweight envisioned this happening one day. I didn't know how and all that, but it's like happening right before my eyes. From buying my first house to leaving my job, investing in my business, and now here I am talking to people about real estate and giving them advice on how to do it and trying to encourage them. I mean, it's just amazing.
We did the same thing with the office that we have now. I mean, up until we moved to this office, because we're big believers in being debt free, other than the debt that makes us money.
Right.
And so we were in a tiny spot. I mean, there was 6 of us and 130 square feet total, and it was rough. But we had talked for years that, man, one day we're gonna have this office. It's gonna be real industrial. It's gonna have glass. It's gonna have, the whole thing. And then we just moved into it this week. So it's like there's so much power in that of the visualization, all that. But when it all, to close it out, I think that like the most important thing that anybody can take away is selling.
Right.
But I think so many people get turned away from selling because they think of it as like the guy cold calling them. It's like, talking them into something and all of that. But one of the biggest things that transformed my mind about selling is you're not trying to talk somebody into doing what you want them to do. You are helping someone realize what they want, and then you're helping them achieve that. And so the whole point of selling is that you are able to ask people the right questions to get them thinking in the right direction, that they're going to realize what they want, and then you're going to help them achieve that goal.
Right.
And I trust you to help you do it.
Exactly. And I think that once you can do that, it will transform everyone's mind of seeing sales as this bad thing into seeing sales as...
Well, people don't mind sales whenever their Instagram influencers are doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they trust them. Like, it's the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Curtis, I don't think you can end with any better words of wisdom than that. I think that's, just phenomenal. Do you have anything to add to that as kind of some parting words of wisdom?
Not trust. Everything starts and stops with trust, especially you know better than anybody in the investing world. Your name is everything. If you can't close a deal, if you can't have integrity when you close a deal, and if you're selling not great product on the other end of it, it doesn't matter how big you build it, it's going to fall. So learn how to sell and then do it with integrity and with trust.
Man, that's awesome, guys. Listen, I don't know where you can go to get this much wisdom and this much inspiration in one place at one time. Again, just the synergy here at the table. Most of you guys know my story. You know where I started. They're just pretty much a younger version of me, and they've added some different dynamics to it. I think you guys actually listening to you probably have a little bit more discipline than I had, right? In terms of making those sacrifices, making those commitments of wanting to be debt-free in certain areas of your life. And I'm sure that's translating over to your business, because a lot of people, I think, get in trouble by trying to grow and scale too fast. Right? And you start taking on debt and things like that really push. That's when you start getting back to the desperate situation. Now you got to do that deal.
Yeah.
Right? You need
whether it makes sense for you,
whether
or
it
the
makes
client
sense
or
or
whatever,
not.
you need the money.
You need that money, right? And
and the profit margin's this big, so it'll be fine. We'll take some now, the rest later. It'll be fine.
But the relationship is ruined. So, man, I'm so happy for you guys, and I'm inspired. I drew inspiration just from listening to you guys talk. It just took me down memory lane. But it also gives me inspiration that there are rewards when you do things the right way, And so you guys are great examples of that. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. It's awesome.
Yeah, man, I really do. And the only thing we got left now is just to go do some more deals together.
Yeah,
right?
do that.
Yeah, we got to pick that back up.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
Hey guys, I appreciate you joining in. This has been a phenomenal show. I hope you guys got some value from this show. Lastly, tell us where they can find you guys. That's what we need to do.
Our website is table.investments, and then you can find both of us on Instagram. My last name's spelled weird. It's Curtis Cupfersmith, Kupfersmith. You can see it on our website too. So we're both on there. And then
and then I'm Alyssa Dyer on Instagram.
All right. Cool. And remember, guys, this is the real estate show, right? And whether you're already in real estate, you're thinking about getting in real estate, you continuously see examples of why it's important for you to invest. Passive income is the key. I want to encourage everyone out there that you need to be looking at ways to create generational wealth for yourself and for your family. And real estate is the number one vehicle. It's responsible for over 90% of the millionaires in this world, okay? And so you need to be investing, okay? That's if you don't take anything away from this show, you need to take away the fact that you need to get involved with real estate. You need to start investing, okay? So thanks for joining, and we'll check you guys out on the next show.